My name is Isabella. I'm standing in the middle of a conference room at Ridgewell Design Studio, the prestigious firm where I recently had a life-changing interview. The glass walls allow everyone in the open office to peer in, and all eyes are on us. Across the table, my sister, Victoria, sits with a forced smile that's starting to crack. It all started when I landed an interview at this very company. I was excited, but I knew I'd have to face my parents for help with a professional suit. My father, Henry, is a hard-working mechanic, and my mother, Amelia, is a receptionist at a local law firm. They've always made it clear that Victoria, my older sister, is their pride and joy. Victoria has always had the upper hand in our family. She drives a brand new car that our parents helped her buy, lives in a well-furnished apartment, and has a high-flying career at Ridgewell. Meanwhile, I've been scraping by as a freelance graphic designer, using an old tablet with a cracked screen. I've taught myself everything from online tutorials, and my portfolio is filled with great work, but I've always been held back by my family's words. When I told my parents about the interview, my mother's reaction was cold. "You know, we've spent so much on you already. Victoria has an old suit you can wear," she said, her tone dismissive. I tried to protest, saying it wouldn't fit, but she just sneered, "Then make it work. You don't deserve new things." The night before the interview, I was left with a crumpled, oversized suit that smelled of mothballs. I used safety pins to make it somewhat wearable. As I stood in the mirror, looking at myself in that patched-up suit, I almost gave up. But then I looked at my portfolio. I knew my work was good, and I decided to go for it. On the day of the interview, I changed in the lobby restroom. As I adjusted the suit, I noticed something inside the collar, the initials AM, my mother's initials. This wasn't Victoria's suit, it was my mother's old one. I felt a pang of anger, but I held my head high and walked into the interview room. The CEO, Ms. Thompson, a sharp-eyed woman in her late 40s, looked at me and immediately draped her own blazer over my shoulders. "I know exactly who put you in that suit," she said, her voice cold. At that moment, I didn't know what she meant, but I knew it was the start of something big. After the interview, Victoria called me. "Hey, how'd it go?" she asked, feigning interest. When I told her the company was Ridgewell, there was a brief silence. I didn't think much of it at the time, but later I realized she already knew. A few days later, I ran into an old friend, Lily, at a coffee shop. She casually mentioned that Victoria worked at Ridgewell, on the third floor, as a senior brand strategist. I was shocked. Victoria had never told me where she worked. I decided to look up Victoria's bio on the company website. What I read made my blood boil. She claimed to have overcome family hardship, put herself through community college while working part-time to support the family, and wear hand-me-downs. All of these were my experiences, not hers. She had stolen my story and used it to build her career. I confronted Victoria at a local cafe. I asked her about her bio, and she started to cry, playing the victim. "You think I would sabotage you? I just wanted you to get the job on your own merit," she said, her voice full of false sincerity. I was too naive and didn't have the proof yet, so I backed down. But then, I went to my parents' house for dinner. While my mother was in the backyard, I had a chance to look at her phone. I found text messages from Victoria. 3 days before my interview, she'd texted, "She applied to my company, Mom. Don't let her buy a new suit. Let her wear the old one. She'll bomb the interview and stop dreaming. Trust me." And my mother had replied, "Okay. I'll handle it." I took screenshots of these messages. The next day, I showed them to Ms. Thompson. She was furious. She called Victoria into her office and started to question her about her community college experience. Victoria launched into her well-rehearsed story, but Ms. Thompson was prepared. She presented evidence, including the enrollment records from the community college, which showed that I was the one who attended, not Victoria. Victoria tried to make excuses, but it was clear she was caught. When Miss Thompson played the text messages from Victoria to my mother over the conference phone, Victoria's world started to crumble. She stood up, angry and desperate. "This is insane." She went through Mom's phone. "That's a violation of privacy," she shouted. But no one was buying it. I stood up and faced her. "You took my story, Victoria. You took my struggles and used them for your own gain. That story is mine, and you don't get to wear it anymore." Ms. Thompson then suspended Victoria pending a formal HR investigation. Victoria left the room, defeated. That evening, my mother called me, angry and defensive. "You went through my phone. How could you do that to your family?" she said. I told her the truth. "You gave me a suit that didn't fit and told me I didn't deserve new things because Victoria told you to. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore." In the following week, Victoria was formally terminated from Ridgewell. It turned out she'd also been claiming a tax deduction for a non-existent dependent family member. Her social media profiles went dark, and she called our parents to blame them. "You should have stopped Isabella," she said. "My parents lost both of us that month." I stopped calling them, and Victoria blamed them and cut off contact too. Aunt Grace, who is usually quiet and avoids conflict, called me and told me she'd heard Victoria tell my mother years ago not to let me apply for serious jobs. "I should have said something," she said. My first day at Ridgewell was a new beginning. I wore a blazer I bought myself from a thrift store. It wasn't about the price, it was about the choice. Lily met me in the lobby with a coffee. "Welcome to the team," she said. I chose a desk by the window, away from Victoria's old space. Ms. Thompson stopped by and just nodded, saying, "Good to have you here." I set up my new company-issued laptop and placed my old cracked tablet next to it. The cracks were a reminder of my journey. That evening, as I hung my new blazer on the hook in my apartment, I looked at myself in the mirror. For the first time, I didn't hear my mother's or Victoria's voices in my head. I saw a strong woman who had finally taken back her story. I don't wear hand-me-downs either in clothes or in life anymore. This is my story to own.